Discover College Soccer podcast is sponsored by Veo. Veo is the #1 AI camera solution helping players capture college recruitment videos. Check out their new starter and family options by clicking on the link in the description or visit Discover College Soccer to learn more. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Josh Davis from Upper Iowa University. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to talk to you. You guys, we were just kind of chatting beforehand. You're Division II now in the GLVC. Tough conference, both on the men's and the women's side of soccer. When I was coaching D2 down in Southern Indiana, we were playing a lot of those teams, and they were always tough. And that was 20 years ago, so I don't think that's changed very much. But we're talking end of May. I'm assuming your class of 24 is done and dusted, or you still got one or two you're still trying to sign, or what's the timeline looking like for you?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking. It's one of those for us. I mean, if we could pick up one or two more players that we feel are going to be valuable, then absolutely, we're going to make room for those players without a doubt. So we've got a good class coming in right now. We've got 8 kids coming in so far. Looking at potentially a few transfers here and there still, but I think the class that we got coming in is going to really complement the class that we had from last year as well. So I'm excited to see the progression and where we move forward. But yeah, if we could find one or two more, I wouldn't be upset. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, has with a combination of the transfer portal and the delay in FAFSA this year, did it change your timeline and what you had hoped or what you were planning on trying to do, or how has that looked?
I feel like I've been playing catch up for the past 2 years. So when I originally got this job, I got hired in August before the 22 season. And so there wasn't a whole lot to really, kind of go off of. And so we really focused on the 23 class to bring in a good number last year, and then obviously turned to the 24, where now I'm starting to get ahead a little bit to kind of the 25. So the transfer portal is one of those where I think it can be a benefit. Obviously, at the same time, I think it can be a disadvantage depending on how you use it. So the hope is that we can maybe pick up one or two transfers to maybe add some games under our belts with a few kids that have maybe already kind of done it. But at the same time, the FAFSA pushing things out. I feel like for the most part on the women's side, normally everyone's committed pretty early, so it's not as much of a factor, I feel like, for us. But we have had a few kids that it did kind of cause a little bit of a hiccup, but ultimately we still ended up making it through, and they did end up signing with us.
Okay. Well, one thing that I've seen that looking at your roster from this past fall that stands out to me as a little different than most Division II schools is I think I only saw one international player on your roster, which is very different from a lot of Division IIs. Is that just by design? Are you looking more at internationals now, or is it just something about the school, or what does that look like?
I think if you look at our men's team, I want to say about half of them are international, and he's done a really good job. For us, there's a lot of really good kids here in the state still, and so we definitely do look at that. At the same time, if we can find the right player from an international standpoint that's going to fit, we're definitely going to take them. And so we've had some good conversations with some agencies in Canada, and so we're working on that avenue. And then potentially in Japan as well, that we're kind of starting to kind of have some conversations with. And so when I first got here, we had a kid from England and a kid from Spain. One of them graduated, and then one of them ultimately ended up transferring out for a bit. He just wanted a bigger school. And so, definitely not something that we're opposed to, but at the same time, it's one of those where it's got to be the right fit ultimately at the end of the day. And we are rural, small town, middle America. So when you're talking to some of those, international kids, and it's like, well, where's the nearest biggest city? And I'm like, well, what are you considering a big city? Because probably Chicago or Minneapolis, and those are going to be a little bit of a drive for you. So, and then that's a big thing for us in the recruiting process, is being very transparent about what we are, not trying to sell the school, but just really being honest about what we have to offer and seeing if that checks the boxes off for those recruits in particular.
Sure. Well, when it comes to let's call it the normal domestic recruiting into high school students coming up, are there events that you like to go to, places that are kind of must hit on your list each year, or where's your targeted recruiting look like for those types of folks?
Yeah, I mean, if money allowed, it'd be great to obviously attend all the ECNL and GA events, but that doesn't really work. So I've got a long, strong connection out on the West Coast still, and starting to build it more here in the Midwest. And so we definitely hit out a few of the ECNL events out in California, Arizona. We'll be out at the GA event as well. I'm very fortunate that I was able to get a few Hawaii kids on the roster, and so I go out to Hawaii each year and kind of do a camp. I think the islands provide some very good players, quality kids, and so they fit well with how we want to play and what we want to do. But other than that, it's just trying to find the local events around here, trying to get into Chicago and Minneapolis a little bit more. St. Louis obviously is a big hotbed for us, especially with us going into the GLVC now. So, and that's been one of the big things that we've really, I think, changed since I got here, where the majority of our roster was Minnesota based and a few internationals. Where now, we've got 3 kids from Hawaii, 5 or 6 kids from California, 2 from the Pacific Northwest, Florida, Texas, kind of all over. We've really tried to open up where we're looking, and we found some really good players in doing that. And so for us, it's we'll look anywhere and everywhere we can. Obviously, money providing that we can get there.
Sure. Well, when you're looking, is there, I guess, I know not is there, what is it that kind of stands out? What's the hierarchy of things that you're looking for in a player? What's your kind of, I want to make sure players have this, whether it's on the field stuff or off the field stuff before you bring them in?
Yeah, I think the big part for us is really kind of those second and third efforts from players is always really important. How do they handle a mistake is a big piece for us. When everyone's playing well and things are good, you look great, and that's fantastic. But how do you handle it when maybe you're getting picked up in a man to man, or someone's really just getting after you and kind of pestering you a little bit? How do you handle that additional pressure? And so for me, those are important pieces to really watch with some of the players. The off the field stuff is, it sounds simple, but how do you react when the game's over, win or loss? How are you treating your teammates? I always laugh when kids will kind of like toss their backpacks at their parents to carry them for them, and I'm like, what? So little things like that, obviously important things to kind of see. I think it's important to get a full picture. You may see something you don't like, but at the end of the day, I think it's always important to at least still have a conversation if the player checks off some other pieces that you do like, and kind of see if maybe that was just a one-off thing, or maybe it was a bad experience for the player on that day. And so I think that's an important piece, that when you are recruiting these players, that it's not just one instance, and that's what you kind of judge them off of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do you guys do ID camps or do you work other ID camps? Are they an important part of your recruiting process?
Yeah, I'd love to try to start doing some more here on campus. We actually are in the process right now of trying to work with some other smaller schools like us, so we can try to get 4 or 5 schools all to come in to run a camp. To me, I think I encourage recruits all the time. If it's a school you really want to go to, like, go to their ID camp. But for us, it's another one where we really want to try to get the best bang for the buck with the players as well. So if we can bring in 4 or 5 other local schools in the area, where it's going to help them identify a few players as well, and selfishly it gets some people onto our campus, that's for sure something that we want to do. And then other than that, yeah, it's just trying to kind of find opportunities to work other ID camps and things like that. So I don't do many of the ID camps over the summer, simply because my kids are with me. And so I kind of take that time where we kind of hang out as a family and just do that. Obviously, anyone that knows, your time during season's minimal. And so we try to spend a lot of time with my kids during that time and not really do a whole lot.
No, that's good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. You've been there a couple years now. What were some of the things that drove you to the job, to the school? What are some things you found since you've been there that are kind of awesome? Maybe some things we wouldn't even know by going through the website.
Yeah, so the men's coach, he used to coach here, and he and I actually played together. I was in his wedding, so we're good friends. And so he came back here, and the first time he was here, he took the men's team to a regional final. And I remember thinking, like, man, this is a place I feel like you can win here. You can do some special things with the setup and the venue. He ultimately ended up coming back after making some other stints, and it was the summer he had kind of called me and asked, if I'd be interested in coming out. And I was like, not to be your assistant, no. And she's like, no, the women's coach just resigned and they're looking for someone. And so interviewed, came out, and always knew that there was a good opportunity out here. And so, one of the things that I enjoy about the school is the tight knit community that, is around Fayette as well. And, for us, it's interesting when you look at our website, which we try to tell everybody that our student population, it'll say 3,000, but our on campus population is closer to about 600. We have a pretty decent online base, and so that helps kind of continue to fund everything for us. And so the other part is, about 80 to 85% of those students that are on campus are student athletes. So we're very student athlete driven. Our professors understand that. Our new president, she was an All-American for Wartburg. We have faculty members that won national championships at Division III levels as well. So they definitely understand the rigors and demands of our student athletes, which is great because now, one, it doesn't make it any easier on them, but there's definitely, I think, an understanding. The other piece I really like is with our academics, we're a semester-based school, but we do everything in 8-week sessions. So instead of having, 5 classes you're going to have to worry about for those 16 weeks, you have 2 classes your first 8 weeks, and then 3 classes your second 8 weeks, which for us, obviously, is kind of the majority of that season, that first. So it keeps it pretty minimal, especially helping them with that time management as we have new players that come in. So from that standpoint, academics wise, it's a great set. It's a great facility. We have a lot of tools that I think we're fortunate that some other Division twos don't, with 5 full-time athletic trainers, 2 full-time strength and conditioning coaches. We're very fortunate in a lot of areas with that.
No, it sounds good. And that is a unique kind of class schedule there. So, I mean, obviously one of the toughest things about coming in to college as a student athlete is balancing the demands of both the sport and school. So besides the kind of the unique class schedules, what are some of the ways that the school can help the students be successful both in the classroom as well as on the field?
Yeah, they do a good job with obviously tutoring services, and that's something every college is going to offer now. It's not like it's something unique just to us, but every college is going to offer that. And so the other part that I like with us being a smaller campus is our faculty are extremely accessible. And so if you're going to a tutor and it's just still maybe not clicking, the faculty are very good about hey, come into the office, let's sit down, and they'll work with you one-on-one as well. So for us as a program, we do study hall for our group. We do it a little bit differently. Is the way we set it up is it's kind of self-monitored, and we're aware, and we have check-ins throughout the season to make sure things are going well. But we just have you track those hours as you're going through, and as long as you maintain a 3.0 after that first semester, you drop down to 4 hours, and if you maintain that throughout the first year, you drop down to 0. And part of that is just to, one, help our student athletes create good studying habits, especially as they come out. Some of those freshmen that come in and they're away from mom and dad, or they're in a completely different area of the country. It definitely provides some challenges for them at times, and I think that's a good way that helps us keep them on track as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's rewind. Take me back to the fall. You're in the heart of that conference season. What's a standard week look like for a player in terms of winter practices, classes, meals? What's the game cadence look like? What are they in for in a normal week?
Yeah, so we tried something a little bit different this year. About halfway through the year, we actually tried Saturday as our off day. And so part of the reason that we tried that was with us we had about 29 kids on the roster for last year. As most coaches know, if you don't have, if you're not in that top 18, 20, and you're not playing consistently on Friday and Sunday, you're really only getting one true training session a week. And so for us, we tried using Saturday as that off day to try to kind of keep that other group as close as we could from a fitness standpoint and a speed of play standpoint. So for us, we actually trained in the morning all last year. So we would go 6:30 to about 8:15. We would do that, and we'd go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, we would taper that back. We'd go 7 to 8 because obviously our training session was a little bit easier. But then the girls would have classes. Anyone that doesn't have a lab or isn't like a bio or science major, they don't have any class on Wednesday. So that kind of provides them a true day off as well, besides obviously the soccer. We would lift twice a week as well during season. We use the lifts as a recovery lift, the first lift, and then we use it as a maintenance lift to kind of help continue pushing the girls forward. A lot of our freshmen really work on just technique at that time. Tuesday being our hardest day, Wednesday we taper it down, and then Thursday, like I said, we really just do some shadow play, set pieces, fun finishing game, and then we normally give the girls some time for some visualization in their position where they're at. And then Friday play, Saturday they got the day off. They have a recovery thing that they know that they can do, that they can get in, that we kind of provide for them, and we kind of leave it to them to go do those things. And then Sunday, normally we'll get some video going in the morning, kind of go over what happened on Friday, and then play our game on Sunday. And so we'll occasionally have a video session in the middle of the week as well, just depending on kind of where everyone's at. That's the soccer side. The academic side, for the most part, the girls obviously get to build their schedule however they want. A lot of them will take like those 8:30 classes, and so normally by 12 o'clock they're done for the day and they don't have anything else going on. A lot of our players have started, working on campus, which has been really good. They work either in the mail room or in the student store, and it's just a good way for them to, one, get some extra cash, and we're very fortunate they allow them to do kind of their homework and stuff as well, so it's a good area for them to do that. And then obviously the afternoons are open, that if anyone wants to do additional stuff, come in for video, they kind of have that opportunity. So we're going to change it up a little bit this year. We're not going to go in the mornings again. I think that had a little I think that took a little bit of a wear on the group as we kind of got going. And so we're going to be in the afternoon, and we're fortunate our football program, our men's soccer program, we all work really well together about getting onto the turf. So most likely we'll be 2:30 to 4:30 this next year.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that you had a roster of 29. Is that kind of your target number? Is that what you're going for this fall as well, kind of in that 29-30 range?
Yeah, if we can be at that 29-30, that's ideal. If we can have 3 to 4 goalkeepers in that, the idea being that we're sitting right around 26 to 25 field players consistently is what we're looking for. It's great to have depth in every single role. For us, our forwards are probably where we have a little more depth, is what we're striving for in that, just because of the rigors and the demand that we put on them, that we tell our forwards, they are our first line of defense, and how they press and what they want to do from there is really important. So it's difficult. And we tell forwards, like, if you're wanting to come here and play 90 minutes as a forward, we're not the program for you. You're going to struggle if you try to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, in terms of, that's your playing roster. You've talked about having strength and conditioning and training staff as well. But what's the rest of your staff look like in terms of assistant coaches and maybe other support staff that are involved in the program at any given time?
Yeah, so we'll have an assistant coach coming on board with us this year. We're excited. We actually just extended that offer out to her. She's going to be joining us this fall, so we're looking forward to that. Our strength and conditioning staff, they're great. They're at every single game as well. So they're usually there watching, one, as fans, but also watching to make sure what they're doing from that standpoint is helping move the program forward in the weight room. And then our athletic trainer obviously is at every event for us in the fall. We do have a few managers that help out with some social media content. So we've been really trying to kind of make a bigger push for some of those things as well. And so we've been fortunate that a few of the students have been willing to help out. So that's been good. And then, like I said, having such a close connection with the men's staff, normally we're at each other's training sessions, or we're popping out and we're catching it. And sometimes it's nice just having a second voice or another set of eyes that happen to be there. And so, that part is great, because I think, one, it provides our players a unique opportunity to have 2 to 3 more coaches around and seeing things in just a different voice, which really does help.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's the way myself and the women's coach did it way back in the day. We're kind of like our number
Yeah.
one assistant for the other program. So I definitely hear that. Well, in terms of specifically your style of coaching, the team style of play, you mentioned, what you're asking for from the forwards, but overall, what does that style look like? What are you hoping to do there?
Yeah, so we like to call it proper decision-making soccer. We're not necessarily possession-based, and we're not direct. The idea is that we want to play forward as fast as we can while maintaining possession of the ball. We talk to a lot of players about that, of, how can we break lines? How can we pass people out of the game so that way we can get into the attacking half faster? We've done really well with that. I think it's gotten better. We played in a 4-4-2 with a diamond in the midfield last fall. We toyed around this past spring with a box and a 4-1-3-2. I thought it was much better. We did a good job with it. We really wanted to get our outside backs higher into the attack, and we didn't do that much in the fall, but we did a much better job in the spring. And so that's what we're looking for. We want players who want athletic, of course, but at the same time, you gotta be able to be a soccer player as well. You got to be able to move the ball, keep possession of it, and make good decisions. And so those are one of the things where we always want to be looking forward first. And that's kind of what we tell our players is you don't see the easy option, the highest one. Great. What's the next level that we look to? And then what's the next one? And if we have to go back and reset it, that's okay. That's fine. Let's go over the video then when we get there. And it's like, oh, I didn't have anybody to play. It's like, all right, well, great. Let's look at the video and see the options. And it works out because sometimes it is one of those things where I might see it as like, hey, I think you could have played this. And then we watch the video and she's like, ooh, and I'm like, you know what? Right decision. Let's reset it and open them up a little bit more and then try to break the lines. So that's the idea of what we're trying to do. We want to be very hard-nosed defensively. That's one of the big pieces for us is when we win it, we want to keep it. But at the same time, when we lose it, we're going to try to get after you as quick as we can and, close you down and try to win that ball back as fast as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really appreciate all your time and letting us taking a peek behind the curtain there at Upper Iowa. But I got one last question for you.
Yeah.
If you could just give me one top thing that you think all families, recruits, potential student athletes here should know about the college soccer recruiting process, what would that one thing be?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. I think the best thing I would say is try to just make a good list of pros and cons of each school that you visit and keep them when you're ready to make a decision and kind of go over them. And I think as you do that, that's a good start. And then just be honest with yourself. What's most important to you, as a player. And typically for a lot of players, that's, do you want to be playing right away? Are you okay sitting? Like really knowing yourself, what's important to you and your college aspirations is really important. And so I think if you can do that and keep a good list, be honest with yourself about where you can truly step in and play and ask for honest feedback from coaches. I think that's one of the things for us that we really try to provide, probably to a fault, is being very transparent with, players of whether we think they fit with us or if we just tell them, I don't think this is the right fit. And that's okay. And I think at the end of the day, there is a good fit for everybody. It just might not be the one that you're currently looking for, and that's okay. And I think if you can be honest with yourself and your family of what you're looking for, you'll find a good fit and you'll have a great experience in your college atmosphere, which is what I think we all want as college coaches for everyone that comes into our programs.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time. Wish you the best of luck as you wrap up that recruiting class and getting set for the fall. And if any of your recruiting travels take you down here to Lakewood Ranch for the ECNL event, let me know. We'll get together and grab a cup of coffee. All right.
Yeah, I love that. Sounds good. I appreciate it, Matt. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Hi, everybody. It's Matt from Discover College Soccer. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to let you know about the Discover College Soccer Study Table. This is our brand new online portal that is complete with a 14-part online course giving you all of the ins and outs of the college soccer recruiting process. There's also a wealth of resources such as checklists, templates. There's the spreadsheets that have every soccer program in the country along with their coaches, their contact information, their social media information, some basic stats about the school and more. Plus there's an online community where you can ask your questions, share your wins, your losses, any questions that you may have around the college soccer recruiting process. It's all there at the Discover College Soccer study table that you can find at discovercollegesoccer.com/study table, and hopefully we will see you there.